pretty sure every missionary says this, but I think that missionary work in the Liberia Monrovia mission is just the most blessed in the entire world, because every single day there was people that were coming up to us and just saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing? I want to know about what you guys are teaching. Will you come teach me about Jesus? I want to learn about Jesus." Every single, honestly, I can maybe think of 2 experiences of all the contacting that I've ever done where someone said no to wanting to listen to the message about Jesus Christ. So finding it's not necessarily an issue there, but the thing that's a little bit more difficult is finding those that will receive you, finding those that want to learn about Jesus Christ, but then also want to accept this true message that we have to share. And so the missionary work there was just so blessed, because every single person's life, it revolves around God in West Africa. Every single person's life, they decide what they're going to do with what kind of God would look at it, like what God would think of what they're doing. They have conversations about, I don't think they can go a day without having a conversation about something that has to do with the scriptures or religion or anything like that. And you can see it in their culture, how it's because God is such a big part of their life, they always want to learn about Jesus Christ. For even if at first they just kind of want to listen to you because if you're coming from the States or something, if you're white, then maybe they want to just listen to you because you're a white man. Or maybe they just want to listen to you because you're wearing a white shirt and tie. A lot of the times when you actually start teaching them the message, this different message that we have, they start to kind of let it affect their lives, and then they want to go share it, because that's what they do. When they hear about Jesus Christ, when they hear about a message that we share, the next thing they want to do is they want to go share it with other people as well. The mission at the time that I was there, when I was there for about 18 months, the mission got closed because of a deadly Ebola virus. Which this is a hard story for probably any of the missionaries there. But at the time that I was there, when I first got there, there was something like 48 missionaries. And then when I was leaving, there was something around 86. And then we were going to get, I think, like 30 more in the next 2 transfers. So the mission was growing just so fast. And then the quality of people being baptized, the quality of the branches were growing so much. When I went there, they had recently had just 2 districts. And then when I left, about I think a month before I left, they organized a 3rd district. They were working on a 4th district. All the branches that I were in, they were beginning to split them. So the missionary work was just exploding there, and it's different from before, because before they were getting a lot of baptisms, but the retention wise and the church growing wise, it wasn't the greatest. But then when we started there, and we had just an amazing mission president, and I know the person there now is also an amazing mission president that focused on those people who are going to build the church. And when we left, it was difficult because of those relationships that we built and how much the church relied on the missionary effort there. But then when we left, I was kind of praying and asking, I'm like, why is this happening? Why am I leaving this wonderful mission? Why do I have to leave all these wonderful people? And then I was able to receive an answer to that prayer. It was just kind of Heavenly Father promising me, He's like, they need to learn to rely on their own talents and abilities. They need to learn to rely on the leadership of the church, the leadership and the people that they have in the church, and not just on the missionaries. Because a lot of times anytime they had a less active, they would just kind of say, oh, well, here, give it to the missionaries, and have them go and not take as much responsibility to themselves. But then when we left, I'm like, I got that prompting that they're going to step it up. And I had a convert who who from the time that I left, we all left, the whole mission left, he stepped it up, and he says he spends 2 or 3 times a week going and doing missionary work. And he said from the time that I left, he's had 25 baptisms by himself. And he said all of them are strong, all of them are still coming. And recently, they just, start of July, they called a new mission president. And they were going to have some of the missionaries in West Africa and other places in West Africa go back to Liberia to continue the missionary work there, but they recently had 2 other cases of Ebola. So they kind of held that off. So right now the mission president's there just with the church leadership, working on what he has to do, getting his feet wet.
Liberia is actually really rich with the history of the church. The church kind of first came to West Africa and Ghana and Nigeria. That's where it kind of started. But when it came over to Sierra Leone and Liberia just, they accepted it so easily and eagerly. There were a lot of people that I met that were some of the first baptisms converts in Liberia, and it was always just so wonderful to be able to meet with them. But I believe it was in the early 90s, late 80s, around that time frame, Liberia actually did. They had a stake. They had a stake there, but they were ravaged by civil war. I'm not sure if you've heard about that movie Freetown, but that movie talks about how the missionaries that were there in the Liberia Monrovia mission, actually, and then it was Monrovia Liberia mission, I think, they had to escape for their lives to continue to preach the gospel, because the war was just getting so bad in Liberia. And what happened is that their miracles are just so wonderful. When you get to sit down with them and meet them and hear the stories from their perspective, it's great. It's one of my favorite things to do. But they lost their stake. The church kind of dissolved a little bit. And that's why when the Sierra Leone Freetown mission was created, it included Liberia as well. And Liberia, the members of the church, they just want a stake so badly. They just want a stake back. And it had been acting under the jurisdiction of the Sierra Leone Freetown mission until July 2013, when my mission President Kirkham, came, and it became its mission once again. And it was so exciting to feel that power, the priesthood keys that were there with that time. The mission became just all of Liberia, but we were only really focused in the main capital, Monrovia, just because the interior wasn't very safe for us to go. And the UN, the United Nations, they told us that we weren't allowed to go inside there for our safety. And also for our safety, we were given the rule that we had to be inside our apartments by 7 o'clock at night. So for any other mission, you're out till like 9:30, and then, have 2 hours cut short. You're like, wait, what? What happens? That's like prime proselyting time. What are you going to do? But the people are just so accepting that literally you're teaching so many people a day. Like, you have around 8 lessons a day on average sometimes. And that was like a very good day for me. Just sweet people. Just so believing in God, and so different from what we're used to here, where a religious life is looked down upon, or just like, you can do whatever you want. But I could care less. But people, I may have gone out tracting maybe once when I was in Liberia. Just you're walking down the street and someone calls you, "Hey, missionaries, I want you to come and teach me about the gospel. What are you teaching?" And that was, at first I was just, whoa, like, these people are awesome. We're gonna have so much success, and we did. We had a lot of success there. I guess the challenge for me wasn't necessarily teaching the gospel, but it was teaching it in a simple way, because there isn't a lot of education there in Liberia. Their English is kind of, it's not like I don't know how to explain it, but I guess like a word for it. Like if you were to tell, the gospel of Jesus Christ was restored to the earth, they wouldn't understand that because they don't have that vocabulary. And so I was learning how to break it down. Very simply. The church was built on the earth; it was taken away, but now it's back. It's kind of simple like that. They call their main language colloqua, and it's not. It's like English, but it's like a sloppy version of English. Like if you were to go up to somebody and say, hello, we are missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they would just look and go, huh? Like, what did you say? I don't understand you. So you have to speak it like, yeah, hello, we the missionary from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You hear about, oh yeah? And other stuff like that. It's just mumbled all together. And at first I was like, what the crap are these people saying? I have no idea what they're saying. How am I supposed to teach what's in Preach My Gospel, where it's this beautiful English, just very simple, and then you have to, teach it to them like that? I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But the idea, I guess, Revelation came teach it like a primary. It's primary lessons. So just teach them like they're primary. And it helped me so much, and it helped me to feel the Spirit more. And you just learn to connect with the people that way. And Liberia is so family oriented. For so many families there being broken, by the traditions of their forefathers and their culture, they are just they know family is important, and that family is number one. And they just call everybody, brother and sister, because, they know that truth. We're brothers and sisters. We're all one family. And so, when you kind of embraced some of their cultural traditions, they treated you with such great respect. Like a custom that they have is any woman that's older than you can call her mama or mother. Or if they're the same with a man, father, papa. And there are so many times where I would be walking down the street, papa, hello, hello, papa, hello, father. And they would respond, hello, papa, to me. They would treat me with that respect, not only because I was embracing their culture, but also, they knew that we were missionaries. They knew what we were there for, and they treated us with that so much. They kind of put us on a pedestal that I wish they didn't, but at the same time, it was a neat experience to have. You hear missionaries where they're like, you get doors slammed in your face. People said no. I may have said no to the gospel maybe like once, directly to my face. But everyone is just so very kind and very, very loving people. With the church specifically in Liberia, they don't have any stakes right now. The closest temple is the Ghana Accra temple, which is about the distance from Salt Lake to Los Angeles, I want to say. So kind of like that distance. That's the closest temple to them. Most of the church is centered in Monrovia, 3 districts. And I want to say I think from 10 to 20 branches there. Each branch is roughly around 300 members, so you can do the math. I don't want to do it, but the church is growing there, and people know about the church there too as well. No stake yet, but it's getting there. There's 2 branches that are outside of Monrovia. One's in a place called Harbel, and the one's called Kakata. I never got to go there. I'm very jealous that I didn't get to go there, but huge successes in both of those branches there, just out on the fringes of Monrovia, and that's as far as we were able to go before we got evacuated. They love religion. There was one area that I was in that I feel like it was like Palmyra, literally like Palmyra, and it was a great opportunity for me to see, you hear about, Joseph Smith when he's in Palmyra and how there's these different sects, all different professors of religion, and we don't see that nowadays. We don't see that here. But there they have literally thousands of different churches. You have Methodists, you have Pentecostals, you have Presbyterian, you have Catholic. We got confused with Jehovah's Witnesses a lot. They were there. Seventh-day Adventists, Episcopalians, Muslims. Just this melting pot of all these different faiths. And there were times where I would literally be out with my companion, and we would see these two different pastors of different faiths on the other side of the road, and they're literally arguing about religion. And it just opened my eyes and I just went, how could Joseph Smith have known? There was no way you could have known which church was true and which church wasn't. They did have some traditional tribal beliefs that they would sometimes practice, with shaman or like voodoo men, kind of a little bit. They do have that there, but it's there, but they don't talk about it. And, that was just, something that was just there. Didn't really bother us too much. A big thing was marriage. A lot of couples were cohabitating. And then that was because they couldn't afford to pay for a marriage license. And specifically, they practice dowry, which is, the groom has to pay the bride's family a certain amount of money before they can be married by the family. And I think it was around like 49 US dollars. But for them, they make on average a day, maybe $1.25. So, to take like at least 2 months' wages just to get the license or just to pay for the dowry. And, families, they're like, they're together, they don't need to be married. They're together. And it was hard. People loved the gospel, but they had to make changes to their life. And I felt it was a lot like with King Lamoni and the Anti-Nephi Lehis. You have such a believing people, and they have this choice. Do we follow the traditions of our forefathers, or do we stick to the gospel? And for us as missionaries, our mission president helped direct us in, going to the members and trying to help them to, we come to the culture of Christ, and they did. They started to make those changes, and it was so hard for them to make those sacrifices, but they were so happy with it. And I myself kind of came closer to the culture of Christ. And I think that happens with every missionary. You become more converted as you can help convert other people. But it's an interesting place where you have those incorrect traditions which taint their views on the truth and how they see life. And then you have the gospel and the culture of the church. And so you have those two kind of contradicting things, and it's learning how to kind of be a part of the culture of the church, but at the same time, kind of being in the world but not of the world, in a sense. So it was neat to see.
The people of Liberia are very spiritual. They're very welcoming, especially the people who are visitors. So, when we got to Liberia, you can't really communicate, but people really wanted to listen to you because they knew that you were there to talk about our Heavenly Father. And so, to get a lesson, you basically have to leave your apartment. There's not much else to it. The people are like so eager to hear the message. I feel like if you went out and you just start handing out pamphlets, you'd have hundreds of people just gathered around you trying to get their hands on this book that's about God. People there, some of the denominations that are in Liberia are like Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, Muslim. People are very, very receptive to the church in Liberia. So when we went and talked to people, we could have as many lessons in a week as you desire. And that's probably the hardest part about the mission, is keeping up with everyone who wanted to be taught. I believe in the 80s, the church was doing very well in Liberia, and I'd heard that there was a stake in Liberia, and then the war came, and that's when the missionaries had to leave, in the 80s or early 90s or something like that. And there's actually a movie about that just came out called Freetown. It was where the group of Liberian missionaries had left Liberia and went for refuge in Freetown, Sierra Leone. So since that time, the church kind of collapsed. And then within the last 10, 15 years, missionary work's started there again. And, I was actually able to open an area in my mission where missionaries hadn't been. Me and 3 other missionaries went to a place called Kakata. And in Kakata, there was like no members, hardly on the rolls. But the members that were there really were anticipating our arrival. They really were excited to have missionaries come, and so the church could grow. And the first time I went to the church, there were probably 120 people in the building, and when I left that area, there were like 250 some odd people in the church there, and so the church just grew magnificently while the missionaries are there. And with the last evacuation, things continued to grow, in the absence of missionaries, because they have that faith to just teach and do everything on their own as well. All in all, my mission, I baptized I know the numbers don't really matter as much, but it was 186 people. I saw missionaries baptized between 70 to 200 people. Yeah, every week you'll have baptisms in Liberia. If you don't have baptisms almost every week, the Zone leaders will ask you what's going on,